Welcome back to Without a Doubt, the podcast, a podcast where we celebrate living life authentically and organically as ourselves. We are the ones who believe in creating our own paths and living our truths out loud. Join in on an honest and open conversation about self-discovery and growth. I'm your girl Mad, your host, and your new sprinkle of reality. And yes, even us baddies who might know that we're awesome need this reminder too, so welcome to Without a Doubt. I'm welcoming to our show our very first guest, and I'm super stoked about this. My friend Rachel. She's actually my cousin's best friend, and she's become my friend in the last few years. She is truly someone who lives her life out loud. She is the realest version of herself, and I'm stoked that she is here today. We connected at my cousin's bachelorette party in Nashville. We were both bridal bitches, and at the same time we were in Nashville, she actually had a walker because she was in a life-changing motorcycle accident, and a car hit her while she was on her motorcycle. Well, she was determined to show out for my cousin, showed up in Nashville, party-hardied for 4 full days with a walker. Yes, she did. In the last few years of knowing Rachel, I've truly seen her share all her vulnerabilities with her IG followers. I've seen her be her truest self alongside getting her tubes tied. Yes, this whole episode is about child-free and how living this way is the way we like to live, and how she offers advice and knowledge on how to get your tubes tied, where to go, and other things in that kind of world. She also reminds people that it's okay to do things that you want, and I love that. She talks about serial killers and pedophiles, which we're going to get into a little bit on this podcast, because children growing up in this world and the serial killers, hey, we got to talk about it, right? That's interesting. I love these things about Rachel, and she stays true to herself. She reminds me that there are other people out there just like me living out their truest versions of themselves, and I'm super excited to introduce her to the show. Let's get this started. I'm really excited because Rachel's finally here. I was like sitting in that chair for the recording, and I don't give a fuck. Whatever. I'm not perfect. Welcome to episode 4 or whatever episode. Chairs? No, I don't. I don't care. Most people are listening to this in the car while you're driving to work, hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
Where would you listen to this?
Oh, I would definitely. Oh gosh, I listen to all my podcasts driving.
Yeah, so while you're in the car, I listen to podcasts when I walk.
Oh, true that. No, I'm not going outside. It's hot.
I don't walk.
I walk around my pace.
So I did give you guys a little brief intro about Rachel, but why don't you give us an intro about yourself?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
You can
Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hey, Rachel. Audience goes.
Hello. My name is Rachel. I'm addicted to. No, I'm just kidding.
What are you addicted to?
Well, but probably weed.
No, I feel like you can't be addicted to it.
You're right.
I feel like you're just
nothing. Television.
Television?
Maybe.
Okay, it's possible.
Anyway, 33.
Me
Whoop,
too.
whoop, from Florida, born and raised.
Me too.
Oh my god.
All the same. We're actually like 1 month apart. My birthday is on July 5th, and yours is on August 4th.
3rd.
So we're like...
1990?
Yeah.
No way.
I just turned 33 too.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So 33, hey, 33 club. That for me is a lucky number, and I turned 33 on the 3rd.
Okay.
Crazy. Born and raised Floridians, go us.
Whoop.
I love when people are like, I don't know many of those. I'm like, really? It's like
my mom is too. Born and raised 305 till I die, baby. I even have Florida tatted on me.
Oh my god,
like,
I'm
a true
5'1",
Florida
but
girl.
I don't have. I have my Florida tattoo, which says "Greetings from Florida."
I know.
I hate it here. That's
we all want to move out of here.
Yeah, but you don't. Because where are you gonna go?
I'm gonna move
Where are you gonna go?
to the mountains.
Yeah, but where's the ocean?
I'll take a lake, a clear lake.
I feel that.
Not like in the swamp though, because
I feel
us
that.
Florida girls get the alligator swamp vibe thing, and that's a hell no for me. I'm here for 100% is like mountains, no neighbors, because like I don't want kids. You know this. This is really what we're talking about on our podcast is no children. But I want quiet. I just want nature. I want to go for a hike with the dogs and my girlfriend. Well,
same.
Kendra should be my wife at that point. You know,
yeah.
I think like I don't want to deal. I want to live in the mountains. I love the beach, but then I'm like, the salt erodes everything.
True.
And hurricanes are close to the beach usually, and
Facts.
it's okay. I can take a little change for maybe my next half of my life. You know, I did 33 years here. I can always come back.
Yeah.
My mom probably will never go.
Do you want her to?
She'll probably end up living on a compound with me, honestly.
I love that for her.
On an episode.
If you get a compound, can I come in the
mountains? I think so. I think your mom will end up wanting to come too.
Oh, you know mom's coming.
Or, it'd be a whole woman tribe where
That
we live.
honestly sounds like the best time ever, though.
I'm hearing for it.
Should we be funding this?
Okay, on to
Everybody
the next.
sell our homes.
We're doing it by, somebody please sponsor us so we
Sell
can
everything.
do that.
The thing is, though, is that they're going to have to bring their kids.
Okay, but they can live a few miles down the road. Like a compound for children up the road, and then there's barbed wire that says no children. That sounds horrible. I do love kids, but I just don't want them. I don't want to deal with them. I don't want to have to childproof my home for your kids.
No.
Watch your kids when they come to my house.
No.
And I want to go hang out with you, and I do want to enjoy your kids, and I want to talk to them, and I want to be I want to share the cool knowledge of Aunt Nads,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not going to change who I am in front of your kids because I've seen you act the same way.
Oh, never.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, never. No. And you should know that. If I'm your aunt, then you already know, my number one rule is you don't repeat anything Aunt Ray Ray says.
But you have some bigger nephews and nieces, right?
Yes. But they know that even to this day. That's always the number one rule. They're my homies. They're my little dudes. My little girls. And I want to tell them everything.
You're an alliance.
Yeah.
That's what you have to tell them. We are an ally.
No, they get it. I'm I want to tell you guys everything. But I'm going to say fuck. And I'm going to say bitch. And you guys can't repeat that because then your mom and dad aren't going to let me talk to you anymore.
Yeah. We're not hanging out.
Yeah.
We're cut off.
And they get it. And they're like, yeah, no problem. We got you, Aunt Ray Ray.
I feel you have to have those cool aunts and uncles.
Yeah.
And that's my role in life.
They fight over which one of them is my favorite, and I love it.
I hope that happens to me.
I know. And my niece, who is 16 now, she wants to be like me. She wants to be like Aunt Ray Ray. She doesn't want kids.
That's so cute.
I know. It's to me, I think it's super cute.
So okay,
I don't know
how long
people feel about it?
How long have you known you didn't want kids? Your whole life?
My whole life. Probably since I was a kid. And I think my first instinct of that's not for me. was when you're a kid and you're playing with other little girls and they're all they all want to play house and they're all fighting over who gets to be the mom.
Oh.
And you're just well, I'm going to be the dog. I don't know what you guys are talking about, So, or you're playing with another little girl and she's kind of bossy and she wants to play house. I was never the person that wanted to play house, by the way.
I can't even recall ever playing house.
I never really when you were in elementary school, when you were in kindergarten and stuff, when it was playtime.
I think I played with the boys.
True that. Okay, true that. See, I was a girl who played with the girls.
I was a girl's boy, boy's girl. I had two brothers growing up, and my younger brother, and my middle brother's only 15 months younger than me, so we're really close in age. Mm-hmm. I did all the sports he did, and one of my best friends was a girl that lived down the street, and my other best friend was a boy that lived down the street, and I think we knew he was gay growing up, but it was the 90s, and when you're a kid, you don't really know these things about other kids. I guess you do, you're aware, but you're not.
No,
we weren't mean.
We weren't aware.
We weren't mean kids.
We weren't.
No, I was aware. I feel we knew, but
it's not something that's talked about in your homes, though. So you're just kind of that's who they are. You don't even think about it.
Yeah, I grew up in very diversity and culture.
There wasn't
was very
a
open.
Fight, especially down here.
South Florida, we haven't.
We grew up in such a diverse
I was a minority.
Area. I was a minority.
Okay, so legit, this isn't what this podcast is about. But I lied growing up. I'm almost slightly mortified and embarrassed to talk about this, but whatever. In middle school, I used to lie and tell kids that I was Puerto Rican. My dad was Puerto Rican because my dad was not in the story. I would say I'm Puerto Rican so that I could fit in.
You could have passed.
Or my cousin is half Cuban, and then my uncle is Colombian on my other side. Mm-hmm. So, and then we went to TJ Maxx and they had Reeboks, and the bottom was graffiti and it was Puerto Rico, and I bought them, and then people were why do you have Puerto Rico shoes? And I'm my dad's from Puerto Rico. Because, it was so embarrassing to be white. My brother was called a cracker.
Hell yeah.
And, all of these things are just kind of, we were picked on for being white. And
Big
I grew up
time.
in Miami, Hialeah, Florida. Then I moved to, north, Broward County. And, a lot of the kids were Spanish. I didn't know any other white kids.
Yeah.
I was the only, pure American kid. And, now I think about it, yeah, I am a little mortified. But, I shared it, whatever. It's out in the world. I was a kid, and that's what kids do to fit in. You
lie, for sure.
And I don't think I lied about a lot of things growing up, but that is one lie that I did to just try to fit in. But a lot of
kids lied.
A lot of kids that grew up in my neighborhood would be Madison, you're not Puerto Rican.
Wow.
And I'd be you don't know my dad.
You didn't either. Neither did you, bitch.
But I mean, like, I really.
No, girl, like, and this is the thing, like, I look like the whitest white girl you've ever seen, but I'm actually I'm actually half Spanish. Like, my dad is full-blown Spanish and Portuguese. Like,
Pero yo soy americana, pero yo hablo español. You know, like,
honestly,
I can get around.
That's more Spanish than most of the people who are Spanish here know.
I literally feel like, you know, I speak enough Spanish that I could order anywhere. I worked at a KFC in Hialeah.
Girl.
You know, like, I did it. I used to do the drive-thru.
Most people who grow up Spanish here do not speak Spanish here. So...
Because they become Americanized. But
super Americanized.
Growing up, like, the whole kid thing, I never
I was
played
made
house.
fun of. I was made fun of. I was like, hey, white girl, move.
Maybe that's why I didn't hang out.
I wasn't even white.
Maybe that's why I didn't feel like I have a lot of girlfriends. Like, I had a few girlfriends growing up, like, really, ones from, like, 4th grade that, like, I still think about seriously, that were, like, some of my best friends, or, like, there were girls, but, like, I used to play outside with the boys.
Yeah. When I got older, I definitely played outside with the boys.
So house wasn't a thing.
When I was like a little girl, though, like, yeah, when I'd be on play dates with, like, my mom and her friends and their kids and stuff. Yeah, and they'd want, like, I always want to play grocery store. I like the beep beep.
Oh, I like that too. I wanted to ring things up.
Me too, and I wanted to play with the cash.
Yeah, me too. Cash registers. I also did have baby dolls. Like, I
had baby dolls.
So, like, I never really wanted kids, but, like, like, Barbie's, like, a big thing right now.
Right.
And
I loved Barbies.
Nope. Never played with Barbies.
I loved Barbies. They were adults, and none of my Barbies had kids, by the way. My
Yeah.
Barbies were all single-ass women.
My Barbie,
all of them.
The only Barbie I played with was, like, this one that you, like, pumped foam on and the hair changed colors.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
There was one Barbie. It was the only one.
I had the Barbie Dream House, the Barbie Dream Car.
Girl. I loved baby dolls. Like, I always wanted to push them, and I like to pretend I was going to be a mommy then, but, like, I was recently talking to my aunt. And my aunt was like, no. There was, like, a time that maybe, like, you were 8, 11. She's like, I don't know. We were somewhere and you were, like, very adamant at that. You're like, I never want kids. And, like, as that kind of, like, I used to always remember people telling me, like, that'll change. Ugh. That'll change. Like, when? I kept thinking, like, okay, if this is going to change. I just turned 33 and I'm like, I'm telling you right now, that has never changed.
Girl. And you know what they always say? The reason it'll change is you'll meet a guy. You'll meet a man. You'll fall in love with a dude, and it's like...
No.
I was engaged as a senior in high school. I was in love, engaged, a senior in high school sweethearts, and I didn't want kids.
Yeah, like
it didn't change.
I feel
then.
like,
It's never changed. It's never changed.
There
it's
are
always
people
been
who,
the same.
like, my mom always wanted, like, my grandma will say my mom, like, wanted to have kids, wanted to be a wife, wanted to be a homemaker. I love the homemaker part. I want to be a homemaker. I want to make bread. I want to be homesteading. I want to grow flowers.
I want to be married.
Cool, I'll be
I want
married.
a partner.
Like, being married wasn't even something, like, I always said, like, I'll never be married. And I guess it's, like, all the divorces that happened trickled down to, like, I don't need to be married to be, like...
I don't need to be married, but if it happens, I would like that.
This is me 8 years into a very long-term, steady relationship, okay? Not married.
I'm newly single. You're like, yeah, no married. I'm
Fuck
like,
marriage! No. I think it's, like, one of those things. I think it's really important, but for me, it doesn't change anything.
True.
I guess
Same.
medically,
it doesn't change
yes,
anything for me.
It would change medically. Like, if something happened to her and she got in a crazy accident, I'm the one.
Yeah, you're the one.
You know, so, like, I think, you know, but we talk about this all the time, and I'll say this, like, I'll ask her a million times. I'll be like, are you sure you don't want kids? You sure you don't want them, right? Because I don't want to deter my partner from all the things I say. Like, I want her to be like, I don't want kids. And she's like, we'll be honest. She's like, I definitely don't want kids. I'm like, thank goodness, because they're really cute. I love them. I love my nephews.
Love kids.
But I want to give them back. When you're whining and crying, I don't want to deal with it.
Listen, I love kids, and any kid is safe with me.
Me too. I agree.
Kid.
I will treat them like my own.
It could be your kid. It could be a stranger's kid. Your kid. Nobody's touching your kid while your kid is with me. I would take a fucking bullet for a child.
Like,
any day.
We all need to actually get that mentality, because children are our future.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are countries where children just walk around freely at like 3 years old.
About that.
Yeah, and you know what though? Nobody touches those kids because everybody. It takes
like,
a village. It takes a village. That's a fact.
Like, we're working together to grow our planet.
Yeah. Protect our children.
But I think at the end of the day, like, the kid thing was never for me. I never wanted. I feel like even now I think about my life and I'm like, it would be like a hindrance to what I want to achieve, and like, I love that they can do so much more, and I could raise a badass little human. Fuck yeah. I could be a great mom. Kendra says it's like, you'd be a great mom. I'm
Yeah.
like, but that doesn't mean I need to be a mom.
I agree. No, I get it. I feel like a kid would give me so much purpose. Like I, have definitely tried to like myself, and like kids bring you a sense of purpose in this life. You have something bigger than yourself that you can give all of yourself to, and like mold them into like better versions and break generational curses. And I'm so for
cool,
all
right?
of that. So for all of that. Just not for me.
It's a lot of work.
It's just not ever something I pictured for myself. The way that women have like this inherent feeling that they need to be moms and they can't explain it. You try to ask a woman, like, explain to me why you want to be a mom. They're like, I can't explain it. I just know in my heart of hearts, I'm meant to be a mother. This is what I'm meant to do. That's the same way I feel about not being a mom.
I could not agree more.
That's my purpose. That is my thing. That is, I can't explain what it is, but I just know that like I'm like a jack of all trades, if you will. Do you know what I mean?
Girl, this is why I invited you here.
like-
We there's so many things that I'm like,
Get
like
it.
same.
And if you
same.
play The Sims, you know what a jack of all trades is. You're meant to like sprinkle your mat. You're meant to have your hand in wear a lot of different hats.
I just think like the magic,
lot of
like
different
you get to
things
sprinkle
spreading.
your magic all over, but
Yeah.
I think if you could embrace the fact that you don't have to have a kid, it's not going to change your worth. It's not going to make you less of a person.
No.
And I've seen friends like go through the infertility, the IVF, and like you're not able to have kids, and then like they want them so badly, and like my heart is literally like crying and pouring buckets of tears because you want that so badly, and like here I am, like I just don't want that.
Yeah.
And it's like almost, it's unfair into the world, but it's like, this is not what I see for myself. And maybe it's because later in life, I almost feel like maybe later in life, my purpose is that somebody's grown up children are going to need a place to be like in their teens, and I'm going to be a safe haven sanctuary.
But also,
that's what I feel like is
that is not
later.
selfish of you. Just because there are women out there who suffer with infertility issues, it's not selfish of you to not
That's
want
true.
them. And also, there's nothing to say that you wouldn't also suffer those infertility issues. You're in a homosexual relationship, so
I also was on birth control, by the way, for over 15 years.
I was on birth control for
Since
almost 20.
I was for 15, and when the whole birth control thing, like the whole thing about the birth control and having kids, and like, it's wild because I would go to the doctor and they would be like, you're on birth control. Like when I would get like a new gynecologist, and they would be like, why are you on birth control if you aren't having sex and you're in a female relationship? And I'm like, well, first of all, my periods were like so horrible that I would curl up in a ball and cry and be miserable for days. I was bleeding on supers, and like, like I had one of those horrible periods in my teens, and then I was on it for 15 years, and it was great when you get your period on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. and you know exactly when it's coming, and then you barely have cramps, and it's 2 days of like light. It was awesome, but I was also a wicked bitch. I think that it was almost like making me more moodier. And then when I was with Kendra, after like 5 years of being together, maybe even 4 years, I was having to pay more money. My insurance was making me charge more money.
The damage.
Why am I paying for birth control when I'm not getting pregnant? And let me just try it without it. It took me, I swear, Rachel, 5 years off birth control. I think I just started regulating my own hormones and getting normal periods. Like I just got it yesterday, like TMI. But I just got mine too.
That's okay.
We were just talking about this. Birds of a feather flock together. But I literally got it, and I'm like, oh my gosh. No wonder I was feeling slumpy. Like, I don't track it anymore. I used to very much so track it, but I've been really just feeling my body in my 30s, and I really appreciate it. Like, going with the flow of who I am, deodorant free, like natural babe girl. Well, I actually have been wearing deodorant because summer's hot as fuck here.
Well, the summer is ridiculous for me.
I can't be smelling so bad. People aren't going to want to hang out with me. I put it on, but I still stink.
I'm wearing deodorant. I am.
I need like a natural detox, but it's not selfish. You are right about not wanting kids.
It's not. And like, just I get it. Like, people suffer from infertility issues, but I'm not saying that I don't feel for those people, but there's really nothing I can do for you. I'm not going to carry. I wasn't going to be your surrogate. I wasn't going to be your surrogate in the first place, whether I wanted kids or not.
I have thought about it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to be pregnant. A whole nother part of the child world where I'm like thinking, people
you got to keep them alive. Their whole lives.
They're not fish. They're not dogs.
It's hard.
I think, like, I don't know. I think I have to clap for you for being 33 and saying, like, I can get my tubes tied and I'm totally fine with doing this. Is it reversible?
So the way I got my tubes tied is not. You get your tubes tied in 3 different types of ways. I mean, it can be.
I'm just asking because I have no idea because I'm just like.
By the way, at 31, I got my tubes.
Yeah, I was talking about you on my intro, and I'm like, I think it was like 2 years ago, a year ago. I'm not sure, but
I think
because I think the thing on getting like my tubes tied, like maybe I never thought about even doing it because A, I'm not with a male partner, but B, I guess the only way I would have a child is immaculate conception or if somebody raped me.
Yeah.
Like those are really the only 2 options.
Yeah.
I know those are really harsh, but I just think
immaculate conception hasn't happened since what, Mary?
I'm very special.
I believe it.
No, I just think, I guess I never thought about it, like, but
Yeah.
mostly when people talk about partners doing that, it's guys getting vasectomies.
Well, this is the thing. Most men don't actually get vasectomies. It's a whole joke. Like, oh, just get a vasectomy. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to get a vasectomy. That's what men keep saying. yeah, I'm going to get a vasectomy. Yeah. I'm thinking about, I'm going to see. No, they never fucking do it. And how do I know that? Because I was with a man who kept saying, yeah, I'm going to get a vasectomy. Yeah, I'm going to get a vasectomy. And then never made an appointment.
I think they're just afraid
to do it.
They're afraid.
Right, because if down the line they want kids, they'll have to get a reverse. Now, so there's 3 types of tubules you can get.
Okay, for women.
Clamp them, burn them, tie them.
For a second, I thought these were like
or
legit.
Snip them.
I thought these were legit names you were saying.
Yeah, these are them. Clamp them, burn them, snip them. So when you clamp them, they pull the tubes into like a little knot and like clamp it, right? And then
the clamp can be taken off.
The clamp can be taken off, so that has a higher rate of reversal. Then there's a burn them where they cauterize it, but that also has a higher rate of reversal because it's very easy because the skin just kind of
fuses back together. Right. The body's immaculate and does crazy things.
Now, if you snip them, they snip it and then they tie off the 2 ends. And so that's a lot harder because you'd have to untie those ends and somehow reconnect them. There's a lot of scar tissue in between there. That's obviously the one I opted for. Because I have actually been looking to get my tubes tied since I was like 18. My parents, this is the best part about having older siblings.
Interesting.
Is that one of my older sisters had a kid young, so we already had a grandchild in the family by the time I was 17. My parents always knew I didn't want to have kids. I said it my entire life. This was no surprise to them at all. And so I had already been actively looking. But there was no doctors that would do it. There was no Planned Parenthoods that would do it. There was no private abortion clinics that would do it. There was no hospitals that would do it. I mean, nobody would do it. They had rules, and then as I got older, the rules seemed to be more and more like. So when I was like 21 and I was asking for my tubes tied, they were like, "No, you have to be 35 years of age or at least 2 kids." But then when I was 28 asking for my tubes tied, they were like, no, you have to be 38 years of age or have 2 kids. And I was like, how are you raising the age? Like, I thought it was 35. I thought it was getting closer.
Was it the same doctor telling you all that?
No. I saw every doctor you can imagine in South Florida. Every fucking doctor. It was excruciating. And I would psych myself. I paid a lot of fucking money, by the way, because I didn't have health insurance for a lot of these doctors. I didn't give a fuck, though. I was willing to pay whatever it took for bodily autonomy in a way that pregnancy was the biggest fucking fear for me. Biggest fucking fear. Bigger than dying in a plane crash or drowning in the ocean or whatever. My biggest fear has always been pregnancy. Looking at a pregnancy stick and seeing it as positive is my biggest fear because I have 2 options. I can either be a mom or be a statistic of abortion. I didn't want either of those.
Isn't that the only 2 options you have when you get pregnant?
That's it.
Or you miscarry and lose your baby, and that's...
And I don't want that either. I mean,
I
didn't want either of the 2 options that I was forced with just to have sex. And the thing is like, you're with men, and unfortunately, I was in long relationships, 5-year relationships, 3-year relationships. I haven't really been single in a really long time. So, like, I was with men that I was with for a long time, and yeah, condoms weren't used because I was on the pill, and I was on the pill for so long.
And when you're on the pill, you're very trusting. If you're actually like on it and you're regulated on it, and like there are people like, I skip it. I don't understand that. I brushed my teeth every morning. I took my pill every morning. My mom, my mom taught me that. Like my mom was like,
Me too. 13 years old.
Yes.
I wasn't not even having sex.
Exactly.
The moment I got my period, my mom said, "We're going to the gynecologist. You're getting on the pill."
Funny. See, like, as soon as I didn't get my period when I was with my mom, I was actually with my dad at a super traumatic shit. And, like, crazy. He took me to a crack house, and, like, that's a whole nother episode about daddy stuff.
How do we skip to that?
We will definitely talk about. I got my period that weekend, and my aunt had picked me up, and I remember calling my mom from my aunt's. She had a waterbed. We called it the purple room, and she had a waterbed in there with trolls. You remember the trolls dolls with like the hair, treasure trolls?
Yeah.
And they had like the little the. She
Uh-huh.
had them all over this room. It was purple. My aunt had a lot of cool eclectic things, but I remember calling my mom and like, Mom, I got my period. And then she's like, as soon as you get home, tampons. That's the first thing my mom says to me. I made my grandma for lunch. I got smacked in the face because in the Jewish tradition, that's what you do. Like,
What?
Congratulations, welcome to womanhood.
Whoa. What?
Like, welcome to womanhood. You got it.
Shut the fuck up. They slap you in the face?
Yeah, my grandma Audrey. Like, it wasn't a hard one. It's just like a welcome. I'm like, at the Cuban restaurant, by the way, in South Florida here. That whole thing would happen with my dad. I never wanted kids, I think, growing up after, like, the whole traumatic thing grew up with me. I'm in my aunt's room. I call my mom. She's like, tampons, right? And I just remember as soon as I came home, I was like, she, like, threw the box, like, my next round of period, you know? Like, the second time I got it, she throws the box. She's like, you want me to show you how? And I remember thinking, like, oh, my gosh, this is so weird.
My sister taught me how to use it.
No, I fucking pulled out the instructions from the box. And I opened them, and I actually used the mirror. You know, they tell you to put a mirror and then look. And that's how I learned about myself down there.
I tried.
When I was 13. But when I remember going to the doctors, my mom was very insistent about me. Like, my mom was the reason why I didn't use pads. She was like, make your life easier.
Sames.
You know, my mom was like, if you're having bad cramps and your periods are this horrible that you feel debilitated multiple days of the month, let's get you on birth control. Yep. Like, my mom was like, let's find you the tools to help you cope and be a normal teenager.
I wasn't even having a bad period or anything, but my mom, you know, got pregnant at 17.
And your sister was young.
And my sister was young. And so my mom was just like, oh my God, I got to save this one.
I didn't have sex until I was 18 years old out of high school.
I had sex in a very traumatic experience my first time around. But anyway.
But I mean,
neither here nor there.
On the
but
birth,
that had nothing to do with like wanting kids.
Being on the whole birth control thing, like it was a very open and honest thing in my house. That it wasn't like, and when my cousin got it, her mom wasn't really around. And I took her to Planned Parenthood so she can get birth control because she was active and I wasn't. I was on it.
Well, birth control is just like the best thing in the world, right? Until you
realize it's not that great for you.
Well, not only that, until you have a pill failure, and then your worst fear fucking happens, and that's what fucking happened to me. And that was like, you know what I mean? Like
I never had a scare or anything like that. I guess so. For me,
I never had a scare, but I was always scared.
I feel like I was always worried about being pregnant. I think that's why I didn't have sex until out of high school because my mom always said this, like, real adult, like, sex is an adult thing, and adult things lead to adult problems, and a child
consequences.
Exactly. And my mom says adult problems are children, and if you want to have to deal with that as a child, then you do those things. But if you want to keep being a child, you do the things that are intended for children. Like, she didn't say those in those words, but it basically is like, that's how it was. Like,
yeah,
so,
my mom definitely didn't have to worry about me because I definitely didn't want to have kids. And, like, honestly, thank God for abortion. I've always been pro-abortion.
Me too.
Always.
Girl, pro-body.
Pro-body,
pro-choice.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because I think if you're a woman and you understand your body, like, I would hate to not have the choice to do the things that you need to do. God forbid something happen.
But like everybody, men or women, everybody should have the right to do whatever you want. Do whatever you want with your own bodies. Could you imagine if they told us that like tattoos were illegal?
I mean, there are in some places.
They used to be. I've always been pro-abortion, but I never wanted that for myself. Like, I don't mean that in a bad way.
I don't want to have to do those experiences. I don't want to make those choices.
I don't. Like, I also don't want to go through that. Like, period, point blank.
That's really hard. A hard thing to do.
And as a woman who knows they don't want children, who has always known they don't want children, and having every doctor basically tell you, well, this is how you have to live your life in fear every single month. Every time you want to have sex, you have to worry.
They do tell you that.
They do. They tell you this is it. Or you can pay $1,500 to have a 5-year IUD put in your vagina made out of copper, which can pierce your uterine wall.
A lot of people do that.
Which is like, okay, cool, and I have to pay that every 5 years. Like, these aren't viable options for me as a woman who's always known I didn't want to have kids. And it was devastating to just be told, like, just trust the pill. And then after 20 years of being on the pill, I have a pill failure, and here I am facing exactly what I never, ever, ever wanted to face. And, like, I'm a rarity. I found out at 3 weeks because I'm insane.
You find out in 3 weeks.
Because I was diagnosed with manic bipolar disorder when I was younger. And so I know, like, when my mood shifts, something is wrong. And I had only had sex once in 2 months, which is ridiculous to even think why take a pregnancy test. But that's the life I lived, constantly in fear.
That's crazy. I mean, not really. It is, but it's like
I lived
if you
in
live
fear.
like that, then I feel like
and I was like,
do what you need to do for your mental health.
Right. I'm just going to, and I thought to myself, there's no way I'm pregnant. Maybe my meds just are off, you know, because over time, like the more you take antipsychosis medication,
You got to get things changed. They got to change
of course,
them around.
they have to up and stuff. And I'm like, damn it, this sucks. Like, because I thought we had mellowed
You were just
it.
regulated.
We figured it out, right? And no, it turned out I was pregnant. It was the scariest thing of my life. And I, you know, go to Planned Parenthood and they tell me I have to be 5 weeks to get the pill. So I now have to spend 2 weeks pregnant. And it's like the worst. I was sick already. I already had morning sickness.
It fucks with your whole body.
It was horrible. So then Roe versus Wade got overturned. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not doing this. So I went into fucking hyperdrive. And luckily, thank God for a friend of mine, confidant, amazing woman. She also got her tubes tied with no kids. Told me the doctor. He's in Tamarack, Florida. I won't give his name. If you want to know, you can let me know, and I'll let you know, because I know that there are people out there who are haters, and I don't want this man to catch any flack for what he does for women, period. Because he's a doctor. He's not just doing tubules. You know what I mean? He does a lot of things for a lot of women. But she gave me his number. Called instantly. I was like, that's it. This is what I want. Set up an appointment.
Did he ask you a lot of questions about what you wanted?
Oh my God, no. And it was amazing. And it was a man, so I was worried because men.
But I almost feel like, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, men.
I was worried because I caught flack. I've, you know, asked female doctors, and of course I get, you know, it's permanent. And I'm like, yeah. Like,
I'm
might change
aware.
your mind. And it's like, yeah. And they always want to give you the IUD pamphlet, and you're like, okay, yeah. But women would generally give me a lot more information on what actually went into tubules, whereas men were just a hard no. Men doctors, men gynecologists, men, you know, they were just like, absolutely not. I don't do that.
Like
I'm not
the
doing
women
that.
doctors that you met didn't want to do it because of like a lot of the side effects, or what was their reasoning?
Their
women
reasoning,
you met.
I think they didn't give me a specific reasoning other than they just gave me reasonings I shouldn't do it. They didn't give me a reasoning they won't do it. They were just kind of like, well, you know, you could change your mind. You're so young, da da da.
And they would tell you to like come back another time, or
no. That was just like just totally out of the question type
Gotcha.
of thing. They were just like, no, we don't even, I mean, you know, and I have friends who have 3 kids and they won't even give her a tubal. She's married with 3 kids.
But I don't get that. Like, why?
Because she might want more, God forbid, you know? So, okay. But I was
We live
like,
in America.
So I was like, okay, so I went to see this doctor and I had this whole speech lined up in my head. I'm like, oh my God, okay, this is what I'm going to say. This is, you know, I'm going to convince this man to give me one. I have a friend who got one, so I know he can do it. But got in there and he was like, okay, so, you know, he explained to me the 3 different types of tubules, which I already knew, and I picked which one I wanted. And he was like, okay, cool, permanent, you know. I was like, I know. And he was like, great, we'll book it for Tuesday. Awesome. So by Tuesday, I think that was a Friday appointment. By Tuesday, I went in. It was an outpatient procedure. They put you into twilight amnesia, so you're not in full-blown amnesia. So you're not intubated or anything like that.
It's pretty easy come out too.
Super easy come out. They go in through your belly button. You have like no scar. And they just snip, and then you're done. 2 hours later, you're done.
And you felt fine like the day after?
Oh, yeah. I only took 1 day off of work. And then I was right back. And I serve and bartend, so.
And you don't feel like anything inside? Like
No.
you weren't feeling anything?
No. There was bruising around my belly button and like some swelling, obviously.
Like probably from like the moving around and stuff in there.
Obviously, yeah. But like nothing, nothing I've been through worse.
Were you with your ex-boyfriend at the time when you got that done?
Yeah.
So he was like all for it.
He was all for it. He was also all for the abortion that we had.
So now that you're newly single, like, how is that going into your new dating world? Because, you know, like, how do you even bring that conversation up and, like, say, I have my tubes tied? Like, do you do it on number one? Because, like, do you say, like, I don't want kids? And then later on, you're like, I have my tubes tied.
Thank you. Exactly, you are in my mind.
Like, I think on the first date, you have to reveal you don't want kids.
So, I agree.
Especially in your 30s. If you're dating.
Agreed.
Even in your 20s. Like, I don't know, if you're on a date.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you the hardest things right up. Like, A, I don't want kids. B, I'm not really, like, marriage is, like, a 50-50 thing for me. If it's, like, a hard yes for you and, like,
I think when you're in your 20s, you don't do that as much, right? When you're in your 20s, right?
You know more of yourself in your 30s. So you're like, this is what we're doing. We're laying it out.
Exactly. In my 20s, I wasn't like that. I was like, okay, like, I'm going to tell him I don't want kids. But even, okay, so, like.
And on one date.
Yeah, I want to preface this with I've only been on one date, by the way, since, like, being single. But I thought the same things. I was like, oh, my God, like, do I just kind of leave it at I don't want kids? Or do I tell him the whole kit and caboodle that, like, I actually have my tubes tied? And, like, this is the thing, though. Having your tubes tied doesn't eliminate children. In fact, having your tubes tied only makes your womb better. Okay, let me explain.
Oh.
So.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. Well, Rachel the tubes tied girl. You should make a whole Instagram about that and just make like reels about tubes tied and shit.
Okay, well, this is the thing. So getting your tubes tied. So if you do the clamping version, you have a higher success rate of reversal. So you can always get them clamped and then get them reversed. And
all right.
There's about an 85% success rate in that, which is high. That's a good success rate. But, you know, as women, we're all born with the eggs that we're going to have our whole lives, right? Everybody, we all know that. Our ovaries, they just have them all there. That's it.
What you got is what you got.
What you got is what you got. So although I do have my tubes tied, that does not affect my eggs. It doesn't affect any of the hormones going to my eggs. It doesn't affect any of that.
It doesn't affect your period.
I still get my period every month.
Still bleed the same.
It's on its own schedule. It's on a schedule now, and I do keep track of it through my health app on the phone. Right. So I go on this date, right? And of course, like, I'm thinking, like, what do I do? Like, just what? So as the date, like, pretty much just started, and I'm already, like, he's telling me that he was, like, on vacation visiting a friend and their new baby. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I was like, this is my in.
This is in.
Right. So I was like, oh, so do you want kids? And he said the whole, like, it's more about a partner. I'm not really worried about children. I'm more just, like, looking for a partner. If kids come, whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But I know what the next question is going to be, which is, so do you want kids? And I'm like, oh, shit. So, of course, that's what it is. And in my mind, it literally in 2 seconds, like, that did, like, flow through my mind. Like, what do I say? What do I say? Do I tell him the whole truth? And I just did. I was just like, no, I don't want kids, actually. Never wanted kids. Thank you for asking. No, I actually got my tubes tied. And he was like, oh. And he was like, not. I was like, okay.
He wasn't fazed by it.
He wasn't. And I think he was a little excited by it. And I don't know if it was, like, a sexual thing maybe he was excited about.
I mean, I think, like, you know, there's something for me. I mean, I think there's something really, like, I'm really attracted and intrigued to people who are very confident in their decision making and what they know they want for their life.
Yeah.
Like, I think when people ask me before that even comes out, like, when I can tell someone's gonna ask me, they can't even finish. I'm like, nope. Don't even finish your question. Nope. Because nope.
Well, it's easy when you have a partner. When you don't, and you're, like, kind of courting somebody. You're
but I feel like, I feel like even when I was single before Kendra, I was single for 5 years before I dated Kendra.
That's true.
And I did date, like, I had guys I dated, not girls, guys. I never dated girls before Kendra. So I think that was always up in the air. Like, I could get pregnant, which I never wanted to happen to me. So when I was out there, I was celibate for a long time too. Sorry, because I'm like, I'm not trying to get your dirty stuff up in me, and I don't want a baby with somebody that I am not connected to. That's a hell fucking no. You know, like, I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to have a baby daddy.
Agreed.
And that's okay if you have one. I just want that to be said.
Oh, for sure.
If you got him, that's cool. But for me, no. So
I mean, sometimes I am envious. Sometimes I do want a baby daddy just to slap around and be like,
I got 2 brothers for that.
I ain't got nobody. I'm so single.
I have 2 brothers for that. I slap those fuckers around.
This is the thing. This is one of the negatives that I've gotten from getting my tubes tied. And this is really weird because it came from a girl in my DMs and it sticks in my brain. But she was like, well, you know there's STDs. I'm just trying to give other women information on like your options, because getting your tubes tied doesn't eliminate IVF from your life. You can have your tubes tied, get your eggs retrieved, get them implanted back in you once they're fertilized. You could still, and most women are doing IVF these days. And I'm 33.
A lot of women.
I'm 33. So if I decide that I want to change my mind and I do want to have kids, I'm going to be much older. I'm going to need IVF anyway.
I don't mean it anyway, but I just think like at 33, I feel like now your truest self at most. I feel like if you haven't found yourself, you're your truest self coming into your 30s, mid 30s. And this is when you would know.
Because I've never been any other age. So I don't know if I'm going to come more into myself.
You're going to become more into yourself. And I think the more, if you're so solidified in that idea that like you just don't want them.
But some people have midlife crises where they're like, oh my God.
That means you're 50 and you're going to have kids. Like, no, don't do it.
But you know what? I could, because I could still do IVF. And you want to know why? Because now my body isn't wrecked with hormones from being on birth control for fucking 30 years. And my womb is still healthy because I never had an IUD puncturing it.
I mean, but I think a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know all these things.
That's right.
Your doctors say, get this. This will do this for you. But you really went through and you did a lot of research. And I think that's like really cool that you did that.
And I can still have kids. If I wanted to vaginally give birth, I could still fucking do that. I mean, will I have to do IVF? Yeah. Who cares? Most women do nowadays anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And if I was still on birth control, and let's say I just got off of it, guarantee I'm going to have to do IVF. Because
your body is...
My doctor told me at 26 I needed to get off birth control if I had any chance of, like, conceiving.
Yeah, because it wrecks
when I get way older.
Everything.
It wrecks it. I do have to tell women one thing, and every woman needs to hear this, and if you don't know this, you need to know this. At Planned Parenthood, shout out Planned Parenthood. By the way, they're privately funded. Planned Parenthood. If you need an abortion, you're going to go there and you're going to tell them, hey, I have to get an abortion. They're going to be like, okay, it's $550. Tell them you don't have $550. And they'll say, how much money do you have? And say 100. And they'll say, okay. And they'll give you your abortion pill, or they'll do it medically if they have to. Do not pay $550. You don't have to do that. You don't. If you do, and if you have, good for you. We love you. And honestly,
if you can, do it, because that's what's helping the girls who can't.
Do it, but at the end of the day, ladies, you can get an abortion. I think maybe for free. I've never tried. I only had one. It only took me one to get my tubes tied for me to be like, absolutely not. I'm never doing. I don't ever want to be this. I never wanted to be a statistic of abortion, and I don't want to be a mom.
I think it's just hard. I think that a lot of people, but I think dating. Just these conversations in dating are really hard. But I think like when people think like, are you going to change your mind? Like all the other things that are swirling around, you have that. You have the people that are like, oh, you're just doing it for the STD. Like you're just doing it for this. Like everyone's going to have a negative comment about it. And I just think like you have to remain true to how you feel about the decision that you made. Yeah. And know why you did it. I just want to make it
clear, though, getting your tubes tied does not mean this is a fucking free-for-all bakery up in this bitch. You're not...
No free rolls here, baby.
None. You're not just up in here squirting away. Okay?
But I think that brings us into... We get to be cool aunts, and we get to enjoy everybody else's kids in another light where we're not jaded and resentful. Mm-hmm. And we get to, like, love on these kids in a different way. We get to be sanctuaries, and allies. Spoiled. And I think like that, I've always wanted to be the cool aunt, and I'm really excited. My brothers don't have kids, and my cousin has a baby, and that's the closest thing I've got.
All my sisters have kids.
You're lucky, bitch.
Everybody has kids.
You super lucky.
Everybody has kids. So I just get to play with them all the time and then just give them right back. And like if they get gross, they're gone.
And then speaking about not wanting kids, I don't want to bring kids into this world. This world is crazy. First of all, this is my favorite thing that you share on Instagram, and if you're into, I don't want to just bring people to your page that don't want to go to your page, but if you do like serial killers and you like stuff about who's being released from the West Palm Beach jail or South Florida jails, Rachel posts this pretty often. These are my favorite posts you do. I just want you to know.
I do post the local pedophiles that have been arrested in our counties every week.
I don't
fuck that.
You
fuck them.
remind
They're pedophiles. We should be talking about it.
It's a constant reminder to me that like we live in a world like social media really puts out more and the news really exploits it. But I don't watch cable, so that's not there. But I mean, like, children are growing up in this crazy world we live in. And it just reminds me, like, I don't want to have to worry about children my entire life. This is why I also don't want kids. I don't want to have to be like, there's a whole part of your brain that becomes worrying.
It's my time.
It's like a mushy part of your brain.
We get one life. We get one. You really want to spend it worrying about some No.
No, my mom says you don't. It's like people say you only live once. My mom says no, you only die once. You know, like you only die once, so you got to live every day for your life. You can live
many different lives, and I've worn many hats, worn many different lives, or had many different lives. But
the mom one's not for me.
The mom one's not for me. This lifetime, maybe the next.
In my next witch life.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not against adoption. I can't fully say that when I get really old, like not really old, but like in my 50s, I might not have some sort of midlife crisis and want to adopt. If I have a good, at the end of the day, I don't give a shit about kids. I'm sorry, I don't give a shit about having kids. I would like a partner. I just want someone to share life with. I want to succeed and be successful and just have someone to share that with. That's fucking it.
That is my goal too.
Yeah. Right?
No, the other day I was at Walmart checking out, and this lady was in front of me, and it was thundering really bad outside, and she's like, "Oh, it's gonna rain," and I'm like, "Yeah, we need the rain. Like, there's wildfires everywhere."
Yeah, it's fucking hot, bro.
We're boiling from the inside out. The soil is like 120 degrees, and she's like, "Well, at least let me get home with my groceries." And I'm like, "No, it can downpour right now." And I said to her, "Listen, I literally said this to her, and Kendra sometimes like, girl, you are fucking off your rocker." Because I was like, I don't have children, and I don't want children. So I don't really care what happens to this world after I die. Mm-hmm. That's what I said, which sounds really morbid, but it came out wrong. It came out wrong. What I meant was, I work really hard to make this planet a great place now while I live on it.
I mean, when we're gone, we have nothing to feel bad about because your guys' carbon footprint is so much smaller than everybody else who's having children. But that's tinier.
I was trying to tell her, like, I don't want kids. I don't have kids. So whatever happens after me isn't going to affect me because I don't have offspring that are living on this planet.
Yeah, that are going to have to worry about that.
But I think she took it like that I litter and shit, but I definitely don't. I am like the girl.
No, you don't have to litter and shit. I was like fucking vegan for the last 3 years. Listen, as far as like, that's like one of the negative aspects of not having kids is that one of the reasons they say it's selfish is because of a declining birth rate, which I would love to hear any argument that's not like rooted in corporate profit.
I resell secondhand clothes for a living. And you came over my house and I'm like, that was my aunt's, that was my mom's. Like everything is like secondhand because like, I don't want to contribute to the planet not being greener.
Yeah.
I want the planet to be greener. And I think like having kids is going to take away from the planet.
We're overpopulated.
This is what I'm saying.
We are completely overpopulated. We are using 40% more resources than the planet can even renew. We're mass producing at a rate that the planet cannot renew its resources. We're going to overtake the planet.
It's like when the world shut down and you could see the air pollution was clearing up. And you could see all this because people weren't driving cars and people weren't going out and buying bottles of water and you were using things in your house and you were not buying brand new clothes as often because we were not taking all of the Earth's resources. And I think like I'm doing the planet a favor by not having children.
Exactly. You're doing the planet a huge fucking
And then
favor.
so many people tell me like, oh, that's such a waste that you're not having kids. And I'm just like, no, it's not a waste. A waste of my genetics.
Oh my God, fuck my genetics. Why? Mental illness? Is that what you think
because
we need more of?
Because you're beautiful. We need more beautiful people.
We need so much more mental illness because we have such great programs for it.
We can fix your mental illness.
We have such great program for all mental illness.
I think the reason why the mental illness is so bad is though because so many people are so critical of like all the things we do, including women getting their tubes tied
and stuff too.
Yeah, and I think that's why I wanted to bring this podcast to light because we share a lot of the highlight reels and stuff, but the reality is like a lot of us are struggling, a lot of us are going through real life things, and I was changing my Instagram bio the other day, and I told Kendra like I'm a little too truthful. Like sometimes that's why people almost don't like in my bubble. A lot of people don't know this about me. I'm too truthful sometimes where it hurts. Mm-hmm. And I almost feel like that's what I need to talk about on this podcast. Mm-hmm. Because when you're like, there are things where I'm like, I have to edit this, I have to fix this, right? It's because it almost teeter-totters the line of like, that's not correct to say in today's time, because we live in a social media time where people are so easily to criticize. Like when I told you should make an Instagram about getting your tubes tied, then right after I said no. In my mind, I said no, because you know what? You're going to have so many miserable people writing to you, even though you're giving out valuable things.
Yeah.
Stop worrying about what I'm doing with my body and if I'm going to have kids, and worry about if I'm able to give more light to this world and be a better human.
In other ways.
There's
like,
so much more to give than just having a baby.
And you know what? People are still having kids. I don't know why people think that, like, I don't know about you, but everybody has a baby.
Everyone I know has a kid but me.
Everybody
and you.
I know has a kid.
Raise your hand if you don't have a kid.
So
I hope you raise your hand if you are in the car and you don't have one. And if, you know, I really do, like, want to, like, give light to people who don't want kids, that it's okay that your grandma asks you every time, when are you going to have a kid? Just keep telling your grandma and keep telling, like, you have to be the advocate and tell her, Grandma, I love you and I want you to be a grandma, but it's not going to be for me.
There is nobody who's going to advocate for you the way you advocate for yourself, ever.
No.
Ever. And if it wasn't for me continuing to advocate for myself, continuing to work hard to find a doctor, I mean, it took me fucking years.
I mean, you said you've been doing this since before you were 21.
Oh, yeah, 18. The
Like,
moment
Rachel,
I turned 18,
that's like
the moment I had bodily autonomy to the point where I could make my own medical decisions, right? So my mom wasn't my guardian anymore on my paperwork for my gynecologist. It was me now. The moment I thought I had bodily autonomy is when I started asking for my tubes tied. I didn't want to live in this world of fear that, you know, I was going to have to choose between the lesser of two evils. And, like, we live in that world, unfortunately, and I don't want to do that.
That's what women, us women are dealing with that. That's what a lot of women...
So I took myself out of that equation. I was like, you know what, I'm not going to... And if I choose to have kids, I will. Thank you. And if I choose... And you know what? Since everybody's always like, you're going to change your mind, I know I'm not, by the way. But if I ever do, then the man that I'm with is going to support me no matter what. And I feel like people need to remember that, like, this child-free existence in the 1901, being child-free was, like, ridiculous. No, who's going to
You were a witch.
You didn't do that, right? And then in the 70s, they started, like, the term child-free is the first time it came about was in 1970. And in 1972, they created the Organization for Non-Parenting, and, like, which is... I mean, amazing.
That's cool.
It's still around today, the National Alliance for Non-Parenting.
We should join it.
I'm
going to link it below.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And they've been around, again, since the 70s. They're a support group for people who don't want children. So, like, if you're even thinking about not having kids, I totally suggest you look into this. Like, they're a support group. And they're an advocacy group against pronatalism. I don't know if you know what that is, but pronatalism is the... advertisement and glorification of parenthood, which we've been literally programmed since birth to think that parenthood is all that there is to us, especially as women. We're given the baby dolls, we're given the fucking little houses and stuff, you know what I mean? We're literally programmed from birth to be, like, wanting children. And so that's why it's so weird for society to take us seriously as women who don't want kids, because they're like, no, we've been programmed. This is what we're supposed to do. But so, yeah, look up the National Alliance for Non-Parenting. It's really fucking cool because you don't have to be a parent. And there are organizations out there that have been there since the 70s. Shirley, shout out to Shirley.
From 1970.
1972, bitch. Hell yeah. She was already saying that a child-free existence was a viable existence. You don't need to have children.
You can shine your light and not have kids. This is one of the many fearless people I'm going to be bringing on my show. So if you thought this was a good one, I hope that you are following, subscribing. I'm on YouTube and on Instagram at Without a Doubt the Podcast. You can catch us every Wednesday. I'm launching a new one. Next week, I'm going to be talking about accountability and why it's important to have a buddy when you're trying to achieve new goals and find success. This is going to be super loaded, I promise, with tips and sparkles of inspiration. Don't miss it. Make sure you're following along. And I'd love to hear what you thought about this. So please review this. Drop a comment below if you agree, if you disagree. Like, I am all open.
Yeah, be brutal, be nice.
We want to hear it, but please leave me a 5-star review because that'll boost this podcast. Thanks for being here. Without a doubt, you're a badass. Please don't forget it. It's your girl, Mad, and I love you.
I love you.
Yay. Yay. Peace out, bitches.